Steve, says 2026.
I printed mine.
Oh, maybe that was an old one. I fixed them today, so I do apologize. I was,
there you go.
because I was doing the budget, so.
Okay, I just noticed it now. Getting ahead of ourselves. Oh, yeah.
How you feeling?
Okay,
We're
Madam Chair,
good?
we are ready to go.
So welcome everybody to the Township Museum Board meeting of November 5th. There's a disclosure of pecuniary interest now or as the meeting goes on, please let us know. The first motion on the table is the motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting held October 1st, 2025. Moved by Steve and Dave. So moved by Dave, seconded by Steve, that we approve the minutes.
We're still okay to go. We're still live to YouTube, so it's just there's not enough space on the computer, so it's still good.
Okay,
There'll
great.
still be a live recording.
So that we approve the minutes of the Nipissing Township Museum Board meeting held October 1st, 2025 as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so the staff updates are the financial and visitor statistics.
No new information, and visitor statistics since the last meeting. However, for building and maintenance, as you can see from the photographs that we kind of provided in the agenda, work on the foundation of the office / gift shop is happening right now.
It's complete, actually.
Oh,
Yes.
but there was something that they were actually shut.
The outside work is all complete, so that they have completed the block work and the insulation and that. And next week, the heater will be installed to help maintain a level of heat to ensure that no further cracks on that side wall and that the engineer had identified in his report. So, and as well, the drainage and weeping tile that you can see on the second page of your pictures was installed. And so that was done to help, and it was backfilled with sand rather than clay that was there before that was causing the shifting in that. So we got a message that was saying that there was not sufficient space, so it stopped recording. We're still live to YouTube, but no more recording. Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no problem.
So again, event planning, there's.
Oh, just one more.
Yes.
And then the other pictures there were the front page where when Public Works was closing down the museum, they did the walkways in that, edged them in that, and took out all the weeds that were between the interlocking and that. So it was all done. So hopefully that will.
Looks really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really so nice.
Really good, yeah.
So, and then they'll start the season off that way as well. So.
And the foundation's been inspected and everybody's happy. And
They just put it back together before we open is when the engineer will come back to make sure that we're all good to open.
after the winter.
After the winter, that's right. And make sure there's no further concerns.
Okay. Event planning.
Again, there's nothing to report for the event planning. For the artifact status report, there's been no updates on that. For the exhibits, I saw.
Just in regards to the artifact status report, has everybody been notified of what we're taking and what we're not taking?
The artifacts that were in the last meeting
Right?
that were accepted. So there's the okay, so the record player and the records had already been dropped off in person. If they hadn't been accepted, they would needed to, dispose of child soft structure. Again, the paperwork for that was already signed prior to, it coming through the board. So again, if you hadn't accepted it, it would have been disposed of according to the donor's wishes. So they haven't been cataloged yet. That will happen likely in the spring when I'm back.
So they've delivered the phonograph already?
Well, he'd come by in person, when I was closing up the museum. And dropped it off, and if it hadn't, so I spoke to him about what he would like us to do with it, and if it hadn't been accepted, it would have been donated to, like, could have offered it to Amanda thrift store or something like that.
So we have it then?
Yep, it's in the office building.
Okay.
Oh, and it wasn't mentioned in the last meeting, but like in the last, I think it was like the last half hour I was at the museum. When I was closing up, the lady who had offered the manually operated washing machine that we'd accepted several months ago, she did finally drop it off. So it hasn't been cataloged yet either, unfortunately, but it's also there, and paperwork's also.
Did we ever get the postcards from North Bay?
I've never received an email with photographs.
Okay,
Um,
they may do it in the spring or whenever.
yeah, well, they'll operate all year round. I can send them another email, ask, like.
It's up to them, right?
They might just have found another museum that was interested. Was there anything else for artifacts?
When we take in new artifacts, is our insurance company notified of any changes, or do we have to do that? Is there a responsibility to do that? No? Just the building and its contents, or just a non-mass coverage? Okay, that's all I needed to ask.
So as long as they're in the building, so based on the motion from the last meeting, I started planning the exhibit for the journey to Nipissing along the waterways. And, potentially enlarging the poster for the map that was started during the roads exhibit. So there was the roads exhibit, and then there was a map on a smaller poster side by side. So I was thinking about, instead of trying to fit everything onto the waterways exhibit, like the early history, because that was part of what was mentioned for Heritage Day theme, just updating that part of, just updating that exhibit. And then we can use the map that's already there in another part of the museum. Something I found and the students have found as we go through the tour, it's nice to have a map of each building. So when we're referencing a location, we have something we can point at. And there are several maps in the buildings, but not all of them have the kind of information that we're trying to point out. Some of them are just lot divisions, or they only have Nipissing, not GERD, because they date from before 1970. So having one that has both townships is useful. And I've also been working on the Remembrance Interactive Program exhibit, just doing some research. That's it for the exhibits. Again, for the strategic plan, there's not, apart from the building, maintenance, there's not any sort of regular updating the exhibits. There's not much to report on that either.
Okay. So we'll move on to the budget.
So I've provided everybody in their package a budget worksheet. The one that was emailed out into your package was dated at the end of October. I just did a quick another update today. There was just a few other expenses that got added on. So you can see the budgeted amounts and the actual amounts that were spent, as well as revenue generated this year. And the difference for each under the revenue and the expenses for the museum. So this will give us a starting point for discussions tonight so that we can put numbers in for 2026. And then we can go through, and then if the board is comfortable, pass a motion that can then be passed along to council for consideration in the 2026 budget planning. So the top area is revenue. So the amount of revenue the museum brought in this year. As you can see, the special events were very close to the amounts that were predicted. And some of the areas were less than anticipated in terms of the candy, the books, and the donations were down. So whether we want to keep with those same amounts as anticipated for the museum, or we want to look for less amounts going forward in the budgeting. I know we've got a number of special events this year with the programs that we in the workshops going forward, and the amounts that have been proposed from Jillian in terms of keeping it economical for people to be able to attend between $5, $10, and $15 to cover the cost of supplies, as well as making some revenue for the museum, as well as what we make from Heritage Day going forward. The expenses that the board can comment on are the ones that I've left blank in here. Some of them are automatic. The amount that goes to reserve each year is in the amount of $4,000. And then the other areas, the structural amount is that we have, when we pay for things like we have to do repairs, or we're buying things to fix items in the museum, things like that. Hydro and that we'll have to look at, and as we go through the budget, that amount may increase because now we're going to be heating the building more than we were before with the heater going forward in the winter. So that might just come up during our budget talks in the office. The telephone and janitorial are standard things, but there's other amounts that we could look at playing with, you know, in terms of brochures, office supplies, our special events budget, our candy and drink, which was, even though we didn't make a lot with the candy, we didn't spend as much this year, which Jillian planned looking at reducing the amount of what we brought in terms of the amounts that were coming in. This year, we spent more on the merchandise because we were refreshing everything. I think you can remember last year when we had the discussion, and a lot of it, we did sell quite a lot of the new merchandise coming in, but we may not have to replace as much going forward. So we can go through this line by line and have discussion of what would be usable or amounts going forward to present to council as they do the budget for the museum and the township for 2026.
So if I could just make a comment.
Sure.
In just that, with this being my first year, and I remember seeing the budget last year because it was my first meeting,
Yep.
but I really didn't want to comment too much about changes. It would be beneficial for me if I could see the previous year.
Okay, and I can provide that to
So that,
all of the
and
board.
actually even just the actual for the previous year. So we have a better, so I have a better handle on whether $3,000 for candy and drinks as a revenue item is something that we did get a couple of years ago.
Okay,
So that way it makes sense to leave it there, but in looking at it like this, it makes no sense to
I
leave it
can
there.
bring up, because I have the laptop, I can bring up some of that information.
I don't know if I have it on this one here.
At least for things like the, you know, the candy and.
Well, if I may, it would give us actually the further back we could go, it would give us a better statistical average of where we should be today.
Mhm. Because having a budgeted revenue of 9,100 and only bringing in 48 is telling me that we really didn't budget well last year.
Well, there
And
was
I
a big
understand part of
change,
the-
between what we used to do for candy. And, like what we actually ended up spending this year. So I think,
Yeah, you spent $1,000, you budgeted $1,000 as an expense for candy and only actually spent $491.13, which is still only a difference of what, 550 bucks, $510. So the difference between what we budgeted as income and what we have as actual is like 2,350 bucks. That's substantial. So we're $1,800 difference between the two accounts. And in a small budget like this, that's a lot of money, in my opinion, anyway.
normally what we did for the candy, it was marked up at, like the price was doubled and then we added, like the costs and then added a little, like it was 10% for, like to cover like the shipping and like those.
Yeah, yeah.
So that,
So if we go
But
through, if
what
we
we
just go
spent-
through well, let's just go through the revenue side of it, if everybody's okay with that, and then we'll have some input onto what we actually budgeted last year. And if you can tell us what we budgeted the year before, that
I
would be
can't give
great.
you the budget information, I can just give you the actual revenue from my document on here, sorry.
And it may not be in the same accounts, it may be
Right.
what Jillian has done
Right.
for her reports,
Right.
whereas what I paid from and we code it. I can certainly provide you, after, I know we don't meet until, council's maybe doing the budget. However, these numbers are fairly consistent to what we've had, year over year. They might be a slight difference.
Okay, so I brought up my multi-year comparison, so when we were budgeting this in 2024, so the revenue from the candy that year was, like, it was $1,300 it was just over $1,300. In 2023, the revenue from just the candy sales was over $3,000. So this wasn't that out of the park, and it was over $3,000 for the previous 3 years.
So what, other than the fact that the store was closed this year because of the renos?
But even last year, the candy sales have been going down. So if you look, like, I'm looking at them right now. So, 2018, I think, is when they must have really sort of emphasized the candy aspect for fundraising.
Yeah.
So the revenue from that was, $3,568. The next year in 2019, that was the first year I was here, and we had one of our students who had, the girl, she very much had a marketing sort of background and know-how. We hadn't realized we weren't supposed to do an Instagram account, so she set that up. She revitalized the Facebook. We also tried some new things, like I think we made sundaes and banana splits and things.
Frozen yogurt that.
We had the frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
So that year, the sales from the candy store were over $5,000.
That was 2019.
Yep.
Okay,
So
but that was with extra promotion in that, right? And
Yeah.
different things. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then the next 3 years, it's still over $3,000, but it went from 3,800 down to 3,174. And then that was 3,388. And then I have noticed it has been declining the last, like, it declined rapidly last year and this year.
What was last year's?
It was $1,381.55.
Sorry, what was 1,381? That's all I needed, 381. That was 2024.
Yeah, I have noticed, like, the first year I was there, I remember a group of kids, they would come in after school, they got used to doing that. like the last few weeks of school, and then they come in throughout the summer as a group and they buy candy like once a week or once every other week. There are a few more families that did that. That happened again the next year. I think a lot of those kids, they've grown up,
Mhm.
they've moved away. And I think the other thing that's changed is that it was retro candy. It was sort of seventies. I think it was meant to appeal to the adult audiences. I don't think that like the nostalgia factor isn't there anymore. I think a lot of people are also trying to eat healthier, or they just realize that they don't really enjoy that candy anymore. There are options that they prefer as an adult, that are more readily available. I think also another thing that's affected it is, especially because we're not doing the frozen yogurt anymore, you know, the different things that they've added at Foot's ice cream stand, and then Dino's has their ice cream as well. There's more options for everyone.
We don't stand up to a competitive market is what you're
Well,
saying.
we're also not trying to compete with that.
No.
No, no, we
No.
can't. We
Yeah.
really can't. We
So-
should not be competing with.
With
So
that,
candy
with
just
that,
isn't-
but with that anecdotal information then and seeing the trend,
Yeah,
I personally think that we should lower the budgeted amount
Yeah.
that we anticipate getting from
candy.
candy, even if we took it down to 1,500, which is still,
I don't even think it needs to be that high.
so you think
Um,
it should be 1,000?
There was a fair amount of leftover candy this year.
Okay,
I don't think we should purchase fudge this year because they expect you to do at least 50 pieces. It just doesn't make sense. So there's a few things that I think we should probably stop for the few people that are still coming in for it, or that, you know, want it to be part of their museum experience. Even if we budget 1,000, I think that should be more.
I mean, if we
manageable.
get an influx of people and we're over budget in the revenue side of it, there's nothing
That-
wrong with
that's
that,
okay.
and that's okay, right? It's just that you don't want to be budgeting a large amount, really anecdotally knowing that you're not going to come anywhere near it for
Yeah.
budget. It's just falsely presenting your
Yeah.
budget
Yeah,
to
but
council, so.
Looking at what I'm seeing, like knowing what we would have been looking at last year when the budget was made, it did make sense.
Oh, sure, no, I get that, yeah, no. The donations, $1,500, I'm sure that's probably been a static amount in our budget for a number of years. It doesn't seem,
It's fluctuated quite wildly over the years, as
Yeah.
far as I can tell. It also, like, there's a few years too, like 2016, 2017, I don't have a lot of information about the
breakout.
the breakdown. And some of them, I think it might have gone, you know, into special events versus being counted separately as donations, which is what we do now.
Okay,
So
so how does everybody else feel about the 1,500?
Well,
it's optimistic,
yeah,
It is.
don't,
but not out of the
In this
park.
day and age, it's up.
A lot of the people that come here every year that I personally knew that were older
Yeah.
would always have a check for $100 or $200.
Yeah, and that's not done as readily anymore,
That's
right?
it's a little bit different demographic.
So
That's
again,
too.
do you want to reduce that down to 1,000? And again,
an
if we come in
expectation.
over budget on,
Yeah,
somebody does pass away and leaves money to the museum, again, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to make sure that moving forward in the future, that if there is some kind of a discrepancy on the positive side, that there's some notation made somewhere so that we don't anticipate that every year. So how does everybody feel about 1,000?
About 1,200.
1,200?
Sound good?
I'm okay with 12.
Everybody else?
Everybody's okay? You're okay? Steve, you're okay?
Yeah, yeah, good.
Okay. The gifts and shirts are pretty good, because we just got all that new in this year. So there's a really good chance that next year we might sell
Yeah, I think they'll also
some of them, but
they'll be just, like, that kind of stuff was difficult to display in the church. There's a nice display in the store,
Yes.
almost ready.
Yes, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So do you think the 1950 is a reasonable amount, or should we drop it
To
to
1,500.
1,500?
I think,
Or do you think,
I would
or
drop it,
seven, yeah?
because like you said, if it goes over, great. But based on this year,
And the books, the reason the books didn't sell at all this year, is that because we
it's not
weren't,
that they don't sell. It's that the way the way it used to be done, I used to have to do 2 breakdowns, one for the board, one for the township.
Mhm.
So the way the township breaks things down, it's like the candy, drinks, consumables, the merchandise just in general, so that's gifts, books, clothing, that kind of thing, donations and special events. So I think perhaps the book should just be included with the gifts, like, and the merchandise from
on
now.
our budget. So
I didn't
seeing
realize
that
that
They
then,
have a separate account. Yeah. so
yeah,
yes,
you do, yeah.
We have a separate account to deposit to, so I think if they,
Oh,
yeah, so I think
so
that's,
I've been doing that wrong all year. I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
So
I
we'll
didn't even
sort
have
that
the
out.
space for it in my spreadsheet.
So,
Yeah.
so that's gone down then from
Do you-
2,250 to the
Do you know
1,500.
if you sold books this year?
Yes, because I know that we sold some of the
Andrew Hine
spiral
book?
bounds from the 70s and the Andrew Hine book.
So if, knowing that going forward, if we know to break it down,
Yeah,
is this a realistic amount to leave it at 300?
no.
Okay, so then what would be a realistic amount to leave it at? Because we have a line item on expenses where we pay for the
Yes.
boxes. So that's why,
It would probably be closer to 200.
okay,
Okay. Two.
Yeah.
Now, special events, we came close.
Yeah.
And I think because you've got extra special events planned for next year, a couple of extra days.
Well,
I
the
think we
workshops,
should,
I'm not sure how, like.
so the special, okay, clarify special events for me. Is
It
that
would
just
be-
Heritage Day and,
No, it would be Heritage Day and any other
and
organized event.
like our
and then the
sit-
workshops.
And the workshop, well, that's what I mean.
Everything.
there.
Oh, everything. Yeah. So,
Everything.
but knowing that we've got plans for next year for extra special events, like
Yeah.
your ice cream making, and you've planned an extra one.
Yeah.
Do you think 2,400 is reasonable? I
Yeah.
personally do. I just
Yeah.
don't know if we shouldn't be a bit optimistic and hope we get a bit more, but if you think 24 is, well,
Well, you never know, because it's like, we had a fantastic Heritage Day this year. We have had, if we get bad weather,
yeah,
or if there's another big event on the same weekend, it could be a very different story.
sorry, Mary, you were gonna say.
I wouldn't worry about that. Because it wouldn't matter whether you put too much in it
No, true.
on paper or not. Like, why worry about that? Just put it in for a minor amount and,
And if
So-
we get it, we get it. If we don't,
yeah,
Yeah,
or if
Yeah.
we exceed it, hey.
yeah.
Yeah,
and the
I mean, there's
revenues are a little bit easier to play with, because as long as you keep it reasonable, if you
Mhm.
come in over budget,
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yeah.
It's the other side of it that you need to worry about,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
so what were you thinking for there, Mary?
We'll leave it at 2,400.
I don't know. I was just guessing from what you were saying there, that's the way it should be looked at, that's all.
so we'll leave it at 2,400 and see if we come in close. we're close this year, so.
I think so too.
I think
Okay.
so.
Steve's
We've
right.
got extra stuff,
Yeah.
and we'll have the November event. Oh, no, that's just
I
a
never heard
traveling
that,
event, right?
We were looking at offering it as like a traveling exhibit.
Right, yeah, I remember that now. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, which will give us a revenue budget of 24, 34, 44, 54, 54, 59, 60, 63. 6,300. Which will theoretically still bring us in under budget, but not quite as badly under budget. So, okay,
Not as much as we thought.
yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, I missed some. 59. Oh, no, 63, I was right. Okay. So salary and benefits is dealt with by council.
Yeah.
We automatically put 4,000 to reserves. Staff development, are we planning any staff development for next summer? Or next year?
Not
Are there
as far
any-
as I'm aware. The only thing that we ended up doing last year was the food handlers, and that was something that sort of came up. Like at the time, it wasn't something that was planned ahead.
It was, sorry, which? It was
The
which-
food handlers.
Oh, yeah,
state
okay, right.
certificate.
And do you have to do that every year? Okay.
But generally, that's how it works. It comes up as you get started, oh, you should
Yeah,
take this.
so there's
and then-
Yeah.
nothing specifically
Yeah.
planned. I think the budget's mostly there in case, like you said,
We
something.
try to
comes
leave
up.
something in professional development in
Yeah.
case there are courses or there's opportunities or there's, development course or a cataloging course, even if it's something online. That's the wonderful thing about Zoom these days is there is opportunities to take development courses and council's always been supportive of staff taking opportunities that way. So I think it's a reasonable amount to leave there.
In that-
500?
in that line,
Yes.
do you get notice from like, do you have communications with other museums whereby they do that?
So I get in here, I get an email from the Ontario Museums Association,
Okay.
which the township pays for membership, so there are usually, if there are courses that are coming up, they'll usually be included in the email, workshops and things like that. So there might be others that are available elsewhere, but I think most of what would be available would be, like, I'd be notified in those emails.
Okay,
So there's a number of items there that we don't have any really control over because that's all done as, now the hydro, you indicated that that might have to
We
go
might
up.
have to put that up with this was before there was the discussion of the heater, so, but knowing that we're gonna be heating through the winter months, they'll give
What
us
kind of
a,
heat's in there, electric?
yes, I believe it's gonna be an electric heat.
Yeah,
We're-
baseboard.
Yeah,
Yeah, there, I can't remember, the
Are they
public,
baseboard heat in there now?
We
No.
don't heat the museum, just the one room, or we used to,
yeah, we
I don't
still,
generally turn the baseboards on.
yeah.
But if we're
But
gonna,
the crawl space is gonna
But
have
that's
the
gonna be-
baseboard. It's only gonna be at 15,
Yeah,
oh, just so that it won't freeze.
won't freeze.
yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure exactly the type that they're putting down there. I do know it's something for a type of crawl
Yeah.
space to keep it at above sort of freezing to keep things
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
So that shouldn't increase the hydro.
250
Dramatic.
watts.
Hopefully not,
Oh,
because they
easy.
put the
yeah, it's
insulation.
not gonna be a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
of
okay,
power.
so we'll leave it at 1,000 and see,
Yeah, they'll-
we'll have a history then, right?
That's
Okay.
right.
Brochure and advertising, you've got 0 as being an expense for this year, but
I think they ended up coming out of office supplies.
We didn't because there wasn't anything that we had paid for flyers because we print them all within the
In-house.
office. Like when we do the flyers that you're seeing that we put out at the, at the camps and things, or the posters that Jillian makes to post on social media or we put on the website, they're all put out and they're, by the township and they're not charged. Last year we had one when we did the big poster that we put in I think the roads one 2 years ago that you did. I think we put that through that account.
Okay,
We put it through brochures and advertising, but we're not taking something to a store to have printed or things like that because they're all being done.
so because that's the norm now, you do them in-house and do them on social media. I understand that we have, or are going to have access to the new signs at the fire halls. Will there be a cost for us to that? So is there, what?
I was just brochures and advertising. The sign, the outdoor sign at the museum. It might need some repairs.
Would that not go under structure?
Well, it's for advertising. I don't know.
Like posts need to
No,
do,
no, just the plastic track lines.
okay,
They might.
They're rotting?
cracked. Well, they're cracking, the nails are coming out.
That's, I would think structural.
That
That's
goes under
gotta go under
structure.
structural,
We
yeah,
could
even
have-
if it's for the
Yeah.
sign, it's
Yeah,
still
yeah, okay.
all kind of tied in.
I could have a look at that, and see if there's something we can do to fix it.
So knowing what we know about brochures and advertising, is there a need for any kind of budget in that specific?
I would still keep something there because there's still a possibility of printing larger posters or things like the maps that Jillian wants
Yeah.
printed to have in each area of the museum, and that could come out of that budget. So we may want to look at reducing it, but I wouldn't get rid of it.
Okay. good
because
to
we're
know.
suppose it-
lucky, you design all our brochures,
Yeah.
both and they turn out better than.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes
way
getting somebody
nicer
else
than
to
what
do
you
it.
would get made if
So
you
I
sent it out.
suppose if we thought about more of as a printing budget rather than specifically advertising, that would just make more sense.
Mhm.
So do you think we could drop it down to say 200 or 300?
Yeah, so I think the large posters,
What, do you remember what that one cost when we sent it to the printer?
I also got it like, one of them got laminated, so I think that was an extra $28.
Right, I think if we stayed at 300, we'd probably be safe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
because our in-house talent has far exceeds what there is out there.
That's right.
and the fact that we can save money by doing it that way
Yeah.
helps everybody, right?
And I
So-
think Jillian's right, printing, not brochures and
Yeah.
advertising, but
Mhm.
printing. Could we do that or no?
Change it
Does
to
it matter?
print.
Oh, you have to just think about it that
Yeah,
way.
Yeah,
we think
that's
about
right.
it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would imagine office supplies fluctuate,
they do
but when
fluctuate.
we do everything in-house, then that's why it's up,
Yeah.
right?
So sometimes if we're needing extra laminating pages, or this time we had to get a number of printer cartridges and that, and they cost extra amount of money at the museum and things like that. So it adds into the
Mhm.
budget that we're having to spend. Or if you're, if Jillian's getting game things and there's different pieces, or you're doing stuff, like sometimes you just have to replace markers and like all of those things and supplies to
Absolutely.
start up, they cost, and then you don't need them the next year because you've still got them, and then the next year you need them again. So that might be something to look at, increasing in terms of, the office supplies.
So seeing as it was close to $1,000 this year, and knowing that you
We
printed,
have been doing so much.
yeah,
in-house.
in-house,
Yeah.
is everybody comfortable with upping it to 1,000 and see? Because we don't have a history to
Yeah,
build
well,
on.
we
I
came
know.
in at, we came in at 951.
Mhm.
I would think 1,000 is reasonable.
So printing is 300?
Yes. Special events. Because we came in very close, and because this was our first year doing a lot of extra little events and things like that, how does everybody feel about that figure? I personally think 1,500 is good.
Yeah.
We came in close.
right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, because even if we're doing the extra events, we're not doing, say, the tea and talk, so.
Right.
It'll
So,
balance out. Yep.
Okay, so candy and drinks. Going back to your anecdotal discussion on the revenue side, you're not gonna be buying as much.
No, I would think $500.
500?
should be adequate.
Okay.
Probably come in a little lower.
Okay.
And merchandising, gifts and shirts, we bought a whack this year.
Mhm.
Are we going to be buying next year?
I don't think so. There are a few things that I think we should work on this year to have ready for maybe the next year. The only thing I was wondering about was, so this year, the Snakes and Ladders game is going out with the Christmas tree.
and I can, that's okay, you can talk about it, but I'm just gonna pause you.
We knew that.
Yes, they know that, because
We
we
knew
talked
that
about it
from
in
the
the
last
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, we've talked about it. However, in doing calculations today, even with some additional registrations that they're anticipating, the fire department and rec committee believe they will probably have anywhere between 10 and 15 games left over that the museum could then use their budget to purchase back from the fire department that has already paid for them. So rather than having to do a new order.
Oh, no, that wasn't what I was suggesting,
Okay.
but that's good to know.
Yeah, rather than having to do a new order and pay shipping and all of that, we could then have them and they'll be boxed and ready to go.
How much did we sell them to the fire department for?
Well, they bought their own.
They purchased the
Directly.
materials and they
Oh, so
assembled
do we
them.
have a figure?
I have to double check.
So I worked it out and I think I'd have to put the game pieces in. I want to say it worked out to be maybe about $10 a game, but that didn't include the game pieces or the box they put it in. So I think it would be reasonable. You could probably sell it for about $15. Because if you sold it for much more than that, it might sit on the shelf for a while.
Okay, so but to buy it back from the fire department, that's on this side of it, that's what I need to know.
So I think they would probably sell it to us at cost. They're not probably gonna mark up the cost.
Okay, so then a couple of $100 maximum,
For the games.
yeah, for the games. And
Yeah, anyway, I was gonna wait to see what sort of feedback we got from that, before sort of looking at other, like, in-house made merchandise, if that makes sense. So I would sort of like not budget for too much more for this year. We'll sort of plan it this year once we get that feedback and then budget for it.
So,
okay, I get that. Go ahead.
so what you're saying is don't buy anything for this year or?
We've reduced the amount of space that the gift shop is taking. Like I said, the sales have gone down a little bit, and not just the candy. So we have quite a lot. I don't want to overstuff the space that we do have so people don't see what we have, if that makes sense. I think we might need a few extra copies of the Andrew Hind book.
Yeah, we're not
There
there
might
yet.
be a few more things that come up, so we should maybe budget a small amount, but I'm not looking at purchasing any more clothing this year or any more, when we were getting things branded with the museum logo, where you have to make a bulk purchase. There's nothing in that sense that is.
So if we
planned for
took
this
it down
year.
to 2,000 to just be safe in case there was something that needed.
I don't think it needs to be that high.
No,
If she's
well, that's
got
where I was going
no,
with that.
if you've got no plans on buying anything except the games and back from the fire department, and you want to put another, like, up it to $1,000, so that gives you an extra $700 to play with, is something, if you think, oh, I should have bought this for the store for merchandise. I'm not trying to nickel and dime you, I
No,
just
that's
want a
okay.
realistic budget.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm all about that. It's
So
just the way-
merchandise and gifts, 1,000?
Yeah,
As long as you don't think there's any
Yeah.
more merchandise that you need to buy, because if not, I would say do 2,000 and it's better to have a little bit extra.
That's right, it's going into reserve anyhow if you don't spend it. Because if you say next year you get halfway through and you go, oh my goodness, we have no sweatshirts left, we have no hats, we have.
Oh, okay, so it'd be better to put more in
Well,
this year in case we need it next
So for
year.
the following year, you're gonna go,
We're gonna
we're
say-
at 1,000, now we're going to 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, so you want it to be two?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sandbagging for the big flood.
yeah.
Okay.
Store supplies and the display. You spent $88 this year. I would imagine it fluctuates depending on what you want to do, right? So 250 isn't.
No, I would say leave that at that depending on what is needed.
Mhm. And you said we needed some more books,
Yeah, probably about the same amount as was spent last year.
so 85 is for the
Yeah.
500.
So I'm anticipating spending at least 85. Again, if there are things that come up, because I think there might be a fourth. Volume 4.
So can we up
Or am I
it,
gonna-
can we up it to 250 and,
Yeah.
or down, drop
Down
it
to
to 250?
I think
Okay.
that would be fine.
Yeah. Programming. I'm not sure what's involved in programming, so,
So,
oh, is that for your cataloging and all that?
no, it would be for things like the workshops. And, I think we're retaking these, sometimes they exhibit, printing and posters, did that come out of that this year instead of out of the brochures one?
It might have come out of programming here or things that were being bought for this, not always for the special events, but sometimes for the special events, if it was going under programming, if she was buying things to carry out the programming. But sometimes the food was being bought, carried out of the special events that were gonna be recouped. But some of the supplies for, if it was a programmed event, like a workshop, it was carried out of there, but food for Heritage Day was out of special events, so.
Yeah, or sometimes where we, like, at one point, we were trying to do weekly, like, mystery objects, or like smaller programs, like, not registration programs, but just things that we had there for people that happen to come in and visit the museum, like an interactive type
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
So it's, like the lamination, or if we needed extra clipboards.
So
or-
how does everybody, what does everybody want to do with that line item? And I guess, like I said earlier, if we had some kind of historical, and I know you'll do that for us for next year, but if we had a little bit of historical data, then we could say, okay, we spent $250 last year, and the year before we spent $1,000. What did we do different? And we could have a more informed conversation.
I think if you put it to 500, then you're halfway in between.
That's what I
Okay.
was thinking.
I'm okay with that. Bet you're glad I won't come and do your budget at the township.
And the yard maintenance, so the reason for the cost for that is, the, lawn tractor, the costs are shared between, 3 units. It's shared between the beaches, the cemeteries, and the museum. And it had a number of repairs. Both of them had repairs this year. So, and anything that else happens with the yard maintenance goes under that. So I would recommend, increasing, that amount, to at least 1,500 or to 2,000, just to ensure that there's coverage for it.
Yeah, because as the equipment gets older, it needs more work sometimes, right?
I think 2,000, then you're covered.
Covered.
Yeah,
Now,
is everybody good with that?
the repairs on the foundation, yeah, I'm
Yes.
good with that.
Yeah.
The repairs on the foundation, although we appreciate council approved the work. Is it shown in here, reflected in?
It
here?
hasn't been reflected on here, so it was coming from reserve. So right now, it's been paid from the museum capital, which didn't have any funds in it because we were hoping to get a grant, which we didn't get. Some smaller amounts came from the structural other. That's because we had space in it. So there was a tarp that had to be paid for, an insulated tarp, which was like $300 or $400 to keep the heat in for the work, for the block work and that. But the bigger amounts, the actual block work being done and the actual work that was being done is coming out of the reserve. So it's not,
Not the museum reserves.
some of it is from museum reserves and some is from general reserves.
So how long have we been putting $4,000 in museum reserves?
I'd have to go back to the report to see how many years that it's been accumulating in
But a
there.
few.
Oh, yes. A number
So
of
there
years.
should be 20,000 or better in the
Yes,
museum.
so-
reserves. Yeah.
But we don't want to deplete the entire museum reserves.
No, I get that. And I'm not sure how much that project was. I'm
Yeah.
fairly sure it wasn't
So-
cheap, so.
Yeah, and so once the final work is done at the museum and we get the total costs in, then a report will go to council on all the total costs and everything that's
And
been.
a decision will
we'll-
be made.
We will get that total cost here.
Yes, yeah, when we start.
Yeah,
that in-
But you'll
in
make a
March.
decision then about where you want to pull that money
Yeah.
from, what reserve.
We
you're gonna
already,
pull.
yeah, we already have.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it's, and we're way better off doing it. We're gonna be 25 or 28, we're not sure. But if we had got a grant and we had to put our money up to, I'll bet you that would have been 180,000.
Well, we already, yeah,
Throw away money.
yeah.
You say that, said that out loud, didn't I? Sorry. But it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
It's way better in-house.
Oh, yeah, much
Yeah.
better, much better, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right, you don't want to deplete your reserves unless you don't have any
Still
other
wondering
options,
what
right?
prompted Rob and Jesse to step up
So
to that
do you
plate.
have a calculator on that?
Just on my phone.
Did you talk to
Okay.
him?
If you give me a second, I will do
So
it
did
for
John
you. If
Paul.
there's
Because
any
you
other.
wrote it all down too.
Yes, I
so.
did.
I knew he would.
I'll do the whole last.
I would like to see a budget that comes in a little closer
Who
than
was it, Rob or
15,000 in
Jess?
the hole.
Yeah.
Just about had a heart attack when I saw that. Because it's not a big budget. And I mean, there are some things when you're budgeting, especially at the municipal level, that you can play with the numbers all you want, but at the end of the day, it is what it is and the money has to be spent.
That's
So you're either under budget or over budget, right?
Yes.
Our job here and our job in council as well is to dial that in to come as close to budget as possible. So that when we're doing our budget, it reflects the reality.
Yes,
So if you come in way under budget, then you've over budgeted.
yeah,
If you come way under budget, then you need a reality check.
okay, so we are, so
Yeah.
the difference between the two is about the same. Oh, well, it'll be more than that because you're gonna have your.
Yeah, I added everything in, but I didn't have the salaries there.
No,
No.
and that figure shows the salaries, right?
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So we don't have the salaries.
I didn't get the.
21,100 is our new expenses,
Minus the salaries.
and then the salaries have to be added on to that,
Yeah.
What did we put in for staff development?
500.
500, I didn't fill that one in.
So then we've got 6,300 that we're anticipating in revenue, so. 8. 4. So we're 14,800, but then with salaries in there, it's probably gonna be close to the same.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the museum runs in the red most of the time.
Oh, yeah,
Not for
Museums
profit.
Are not generally profitable.
No.
No,
Organizations.
Yeah.
No,
Unfortunately.
but I mean, we did our best, right?
Yeah, we made some reductions.
We've made
and
some
to be
reductions
realistic.
on both sides, and we didn't increase anything on the revenue side. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, but if we come in around 16,000 like we did last year, then I think we did as good as we can do. Okay, so I have a motion on the floor now to approve the museum 2026 budget request to forward to council for inclusion in their 2026 municipal budget process. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Mary? Yeah, Steve? So moved by Mary, seconded by Steve.
It's the adjournment one.
Oh, you didn't give it to me yet. I didn't even read it. I just read that part of it. Okay, we'll try that again.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's still gonna be Mary and Steve, and they're gonna do the adjournment too. 'Cause I already wrote it down.
Put your hands up, please.
Okay, moved by Mary, seconded by Steve, that the Nipissing Township Museum 2026 budget request be approved and be forwarded to council for inclusion in the 2026 municipal budget. All in favor? Carried. Okay, is there anything else that needs to be discussed tonight, as knowing that we don't meet again until because we don't meet again now till March. Okay, seeing nothing, moved by Mary, seconded by Steve, that the board meeting is hereby adjourned at
6:55.
6:55,
And winter will be over on that day.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
The next meeting
You're
will
right.
be held Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 at 6 PM. All in favor?
Mhm.
Carried.
Put that
Thank you.
in my
We'll have a new chair
calendar.
next year.